So from right here, this is what I'll be cutting out the highlight once I'm able to. Like I said, it was a bit of a pain in the ass from last night. But hopefully that gets fixed soon. And we'll be starting the Special Guest Friday interview from this point forward. And you guys make sure you're subscribed on YouTube, and you can, watch it, link it, whatever you want to do with the interview from this point forward. So I'm going to go ahead and call Ataxus on Skype. We'll adjust some volume settings and get this thing kicking. Yo!
Hey, what's up?
Man, I gotta turn your volume and shit.
Yeah, you're gonna have to test it probably.
Yeah. Wait, say something else?
How's that?
Are you sure that's has your correct mic selected? It doesn't sound like your normal mic.
Sometimes I have to open the options and it resets.
Yeah, do that.
And it didn't I just opened it and it didn't do it.
Hang on. Click on the little, if you see on the stream, I'm hovering over it on here. It's got a little signal bar looking thing. You click that and then go to your microphone and make sure your microphone's the right one.
It's the right one and it's on the highest volume.
Oh, that's weird. Alright, so let's see. As far as the stream goes, can you guys hear him very well, or do you need this to be adjusted a lot? I know it's got a little bit of an ambient noise going on. We might just use mumble if this is, okay, well, they're saying it sounds fine, so we're just going to go with this. Alright, so, stream, Ataxus stream. I know Ataxus is in the stream quite a bit, and, we, talk about stuff stream related often. So, let me turn it up a little bit more and we're going to get this started. So, let's just start it out with you introducing yourself, first name, class you play, just random things about you and things like that, and then we'll go from there.
I've been playing a mage since beta, and I've been in BL for about 2 years now. I joined midway through Ulduar. I think they were on, I want to say Yogg, and they had just done Algalon, something like that. First name is Paul. What else? I haven't really changed my class other than just playing alts. So I was a warlock on closed beta. But then from open beta on, it was just mage the whole way through.
What, from vanilla?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't even know. That's really interesting. I didn't know you played a warlock initially in open or closed beta. That is very weird, to be honest. I thought you were a mage from the get-go. So, well, what guilds were you in before Blood Legion?
I started out in Victus, which was kind of a friend type guild. Let's roll on this server. We rolled on Bleeding Hollow. I kind of knew the people, but it wasn't a huge group. It was probably 5. And we just kind of grew from there because we put in long hours and stuff into the raids. Raiding was obviously different back then, so I don't think guilds kind of grew in the same way that they do now. We kind of gather people for different reasons, I think, than what used to happen. So it's kind of interesting in that regard.
So when did you make the step and start getting into more of a serious raiding environment?
I don't really think we even distinguished between serious and not serious. I think it mainly came down to the time we were online, and since we were on so much, it was kind of just obvious that we would not be crappy at the game. That's another difference between then and now, I think. Now you have to make a concerted effort, I think, to either be, the hardcore versus casual distinction. But back then it was just how much do you play? I don't even think people were as aware of people messing up in raids as much as they are now. So, pretty different environment.
Well, what was the first guild that you were in where it was you started going for top kills, you know what I mean? You're going for the ranking number and things like that. What was the first guild that you were in that was the atmosphere?
That would be 2 or 3 merges later. I never really left my guilds, but they always kind of merged into other ones. So by the time we ended up with, the guild was called Deathwish, so that was maybe 2 merges later than Victus. That's when we were actually like more conscious of the ranks and like, how can we actually increase this number that we became aware of? Because until that, we didn't really like even. I didn't, at least. I wasn't that aware of the ranks. Like I kind of just saw them in passing, but I don't think it was like a concerted effort of the guild to be high on that rank.
And is that a random question? That's you and Turbin were in the guild at the same time there?
Turban. I think Turban was like a red pally during Muru or something. I think it was like halfway through Muru, I want to say.
So coming out of Death Wish, is that what happened after that? Is that or when did you say you joined Blood Legion?
I think it would have to be. I'm trying to think of the year. I guess it was like summer of '09. I'd have to check that, but it was like halfway through Oldor, or maybe the end of Oldor.
Yeah. Cool. So I mean, what were some of the largest differences that you noticed coming from, something similar to like a guild? Say, I mean, like Death Wish coming to a guild like Blood Legion. What were some of the major differences that you noticed?
Honestly, I think the biggest difference is like retaining players and reducing the number of raid loggers. Because if you do activities outside of raiding, you tend to keep the guild as a more cohesive unit, and I think that's like one of the biggest factors for success. In the old guilds, it was more of like, you do your raid on Tuesday and then you don't really see the people again until the next week. And I guess apart from that, it was just more disciplined. Coming from Death Wish, like my biggest hope, like when I left Death Wish, was I wouldn't really have to be an officer anymore, to be honest, because like I thought it would be cool to just be led and not have to, it's a different perspective, like when you're being led versus having to set policies and things like that. But ironically, I became an officer in BL too.
Yeah, I could definitely relate to that. So, let's talk a little bit about. I know a lot of people always ask questions about your achievement points. A little bit of a transition away from that guild history to this question, but I mean, how did you kind of get involved with achievements? What started that off, or is that something you've kind of did in any game that you've played?
There wasn't anything like a conscious decision or anything like that to start doing achievement points because I had pretty much been doing them the whole time, like before they even existed. So it was kind of like a natural progression for me to just continue earning them. For example, like I pretty much already had Insane almost done before it was even conceived by Blizzard. So like all I pretty much had to do after Insane came out was get the one rep that I didn't feel like doing previously because it was a pain, which was I guess it was a Dark Moon, maybe Shenjalar. But all the other ones were already done because I just like, kind of a completionist type thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you think that you'll ever have every achievement in the game?
I think I've had every one, maybe 2 different patches. It varies sometimes. Sometimes they come out with some really annoying ones. Like right now, it's the 250k HK one, but I'm working on that pretty steadily right now. It really just depends on the patching cycle and how nasty they decide to be with achievements.
Well,
And
what
if
do
you
you?
let me get them.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you let me get the meta from DS.
So we'll get it at some point. Maybe next Spec or something. But what about like alts? How do you feel about achievements on alts? So I know that's a common question people ask when they see a lot of achievement points on someone's main. They always ask about their alts.
I don't really see how it's a logical step to say that if you care about them on your main, you would care about them on your alts, especially if they're going account wide or something. I mean, because there's no limit to that. Like, if I start getting them on my alts, I would have to get them on like, theoretically, I'd have to get them on all 9 alts or something. So like, where do you draw the line?
So you pretty much, for you, it's just your main, and outside of that, it's
yeah.
Okay. Cool stuff. Well, at some point we're going to move over to this stream and start answering some questions that they have, but I had a couple more that I wanted to get off up front. I wanted you to more or less just tell the stream about what you think about mages and their current status, like in Dragon Soul. And that's Yeah, I guess we'll just go with that for right now. So yeah, what do you think about that?
Obviously, mages are a good class in the current tier, but the only problem Blizzard has is they never give the mage any choice with what they're really playing. I guess there's some choice, like if it's more of a standstill fight, things like that. But to me, at least, it's never felt like a true choice in what spec you could be, and especially with Frost, that's really been out the window, and that's actually gotten worse recently. The ideal situation would be to pick whatever you felt most comfortable playing for that fight. I mean, I guess they've done a decent job of that. Can't really blame them fully, but most of the DS fights are just like running the whole time, so there isn't that much liberty.
What is your favorite fight in Dragon Soul on a mage?
Well, I mean, I like Ultraxion because it's like epic, but not overly complicated, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like mechanics and actual, participating in the fight, it's kind of boring. So what else can I pick? I mean, I like Madness a lot. I just thought it should have been harder, but like the concept behind it was really cool. Like it needed a heroic only phase and some other tweaks, but
yeah, I kind of felt the same way
still
about
liked
that.
it.
Yeah, I definitely think that if they would have, took the time to make, I don't know, it was just kind of mind-boggling to an extent because every, end tier boss or especially end of an X-Spec boss, you would think it would have a, proper heroic final phase. I mean, that goes all the way back until like, several tiers ago. I mean, you've had Rag, you had even Sinestra could be argued to. I mean, you can only do that on heroic. Tier 8, you had Algalon, that was heroic only. Tier 10, you had Lich King. Trying to think. Tier 9 or Tier 8 was Algalon. Tier 9, I think a noob changed. What did a noob do differently on heroic? I forgot.
Limited frost orbs.
Yeah.
I think the ads are meaner.
Okay, so I guess a noob wasn't really that much of a change, but pretty much everyone aside from that, you either had a heroic specific boss or the final tier boss had a proper additional phase for heroic modes. I was kind of surprised that they didn't do that with Madness, but yeah, hopefully they don't let that happen again.
I prefer the old War model, but they said that's too resource intensive, so
yeah,
where there's like multiple levels and you like interact with it.
Right. Yeah, that was easily probably my favorite tier overall, just as far as like mechanics and things like that go. Speaking of favorites, while we're on the topic, just go through a couple of questions here. Like, what is your favorite tier?
I'd have to probably go with Sunwell, but I think that's a little bit overused, and as an answer to the question, and that may be biased in my case because we were like a very high kill of pre-patch Maru. And that was like a really dramatic separator of guilds.
Mm-hmm.
I think there were like 8 pre-patch kills, so I enjoyed that tier.
That was when you were in Deathwish still?
Yes.
Okay. What about your favorite mage tier set? Like, what do you think? Which is your favorite looking tier?
Oh, this is a tough one. Let's see. I mean, tier 5 it's not a flashy tier, but it's like the most, I guess it's like the most role-playing tier, you could say, because you would look exactly like Medivh if you had the legendary staff, and I like the color scheme on it. Some people hate that set though. I think the current set is really well done. It's very
unique.
Yeah, it has like built-in goggles and it's like quilted. I think they put a lot of effort into that one.
Yeah.
So I think those two are my favorite.
Yeah, I like the current mage tier. I know a lot of people don't. I don't know. I just like it because you can definitely tell what it is just by, I mean, there's no other really gear that looks like that.
Well, it looks good on male trolls, which is somewhat rare.
Yeah. Let's see. So, talk about favorite tier, or what about favorite boss fight? What would you go with there? And you don't have to pick just one. If it's a handful, you can just name all of them.
I think I'm just going to have to condense my answer to Kael'thas, because that's what I've been doing for the past 3 years.
Oh, why is that for the people that are unaware of the reason that you're doing Kael'thas so often?
for the mount.
How many kills are you up to now?
So it's like, I think this week was 155, but that's not counting the, obviously, pre-stats value.
So how many do you think you're at ballpark figure, pre-stat value included? How many kills?
Like, including rating it?
Yes.
I don't really remember how many times we did it, but it had to be, like, maybe in the 50 range from rating and, like, some light farming. So I always estimate it to about 200 by now on the just the main character.
Right.
And how maybe another 30-ish on alts.
How many have you seen drop on alts?
I think 2. 1 or 2. I think I was there for lollies maybe, which I think I was on my shaman, and I don't really remember the other one.
How does it make you feel when you see it drop on? I mean, having put in like, you know, easily, you know, near 200 kills on the boss. How does it make you feel when you see it drop when you're on an alt? I mean, is it past the point of being depressing, or I mean, I don't know. I just think it's got to be pretty brutal.
Well, usually if I'm on my alt, it's like because my main has already gone to another one, so I don't care that much. But it is kind of annoying that it was like on the wrong raid or whatever. And technically, I could be running like 10 of them if they're making them account wide, but that's a lot of work.
Would you really want it if? I mean, at this point, I know me personally. If I committed that many runs to doing it on my main, I would stick it out until I got it. Probably. I know it's kind of hard to say because I'm not in your position, but would you feel comfortable getting in on an alt just to get it account wide on your main?
Well, I'd rather have it on anything than nowhere, but yeah, it would be kind of annoying, like just in case they don't make it account wide or like there's some kind of hitch.
What if there's like a you know, a little annotation of which character attained it? That
yeah, and the fetus strength might not transfer. I don't really know how it's going to work, so I haven't really gone into my alts to do that yet. It's just not. I have other things to farm, I guess.
So is it once you end up getting it? I mean, are you ever going to set foot in TK again?
I'll probably go to those runs where it's like they pay you if it drops or whatever. Because I still like the instance and it doesn't take that long. I don't like hate it or anything. It's just unlucky. I probably would still go occasionally, maybe to help people.
Okay, so if you had to put a number on how many more pulls or kills you're going to have to kill Kel'Thas before you see the mount, what would you reasonably think? How many more do you need to get?
I want to hope I'll get it by like the 200 mark, so it's 45 more, which is like almost a year. If I don't start doing it on alt out of desperation, that is.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I don't know. I would like. I mean, I don't know. It's pretty mind-boggling that you haven't gotten one yet, because most people, you know, get it relatively quickly. I know it was like me for 33 pulls on my DK, and then Cameron got like 2 in a, you know, 2-month time frame on things like that. So I don't know. I guess just RNG being RNG. But moving on from the, you know, alarm mount, what are some of the things that you're looking forward to about Mists of Pandaria and mages? Or actually, two different answers. What are you looking for as just changes overall to the game going into Mists?
The PvP stat change was the most interesting thing I saw in that stat change blue post.
Yeah. Because
you won't be able to just cheese like AV and stuff with PvE gear. I mean, I kind of enjoy that now, but I think it's better game design to have the defense and power model like they're doing. Another general change. I think the pet battles will be decent. I'm not like super excited about those, but you can like show off pets and things. That's pretty neat.
I'm super pumped, man. That's like one of my favorite changes.
And then the thing we'll be doing like 24/7 is probably the time trial things, which are gonna get like exploited by like stealthers and everything. But they'll be fun after they balance those.
Yeah. Okay. What about let's see. What about mage specific changes? Is there anything that you've read or saw that looked really intriguing or hoping that they follow through with, talent-wise or anything?
Well, they're totally redesigning fire to not be a pain in the ass, which is always welcome. And they are making it so Arcane uses more of its spells in different situations. and they're also adding like more. I guess they like the bomb and orb model, so they're giving like all 3 specs like its own bomb and orb spell. So, and you can like mix and match it with the new talent model, so that should be pretty interesting. Maybe you could do different combinations depending on what you're doing. So like maybe you would get a snaring, like a frost bomb to snare, but you'd still have like all the other arcane, like arcane orb with frost bomb, for example, for like BGs or something. I don't know. Just mix and match.
What is your favorite spec to play on your mage? I mean, like, not talking about any specific fight, just your overall favorite spec.
Because overall it have to be fire, but there are some instances where arcane is more fun, like if you get really huge numbers, obviously. And actually I do enjoy frost, it's just I just PvE way more than PvP, and it hasn't really been viable in like years, so.
Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, so probably have a couple more questions, but we'll get to those. I'm going to go ahead and pick some questions out of stream chat, and we're going to have them ask some of their questions. So let me scroll through here. I've already saw several come through. Let's try to keep these mage related if at all possible. That way we can, you guys are asking questions, try to keep them related to mage stuff. Another thing, Ataxus, if you could throw your Twitter in the stream chat. Here in a minute he's going to go to his Twitter and go through probably about 3 or so armories and just give you guys quick audits on light reforging, gemming, enchanting, spec, glyphs, professions, and all that, and you guys can ask questions about the audits that he's doing. So make sure you guys go to his Twitter, follow him, and you have to put your armory on his Twitter. And in before, oh my god, that means I gotta make a Twitter. Yeah, it kind of does mean you have to make a Twitter, so deal with it. This one guy asks, when do you, this isn't really mage related, but it's a good question. When do you plan to finish the last 3 achievements in your Cataclysm raid section?
When Rig says I can.
Oh.
Or, well, if I want to do it sooner, I have to like be sick on a Tuesday or something. I'm still working on it. But like, if I'm sick on a Tuesday, I can go to like an alt run or something and do it. But I'll probably just wait until Rig says I can.
Okay, let's see. We've got my question for Ataxus is, what is it like raiding with rigs?
It's fine until you like mess up, and then maybe it's not so fine, but you don't really, I mean, you get over it. Like, the only time he ever says anything to someone individually is if they mess up, but it's not like, it's not mean or anything, you just have to learn how to take it, pretty much. Or in some cases it's well, it's only frustrating when it's like not fully in your control. Like if you actually mess something up, it's like whatever, okay, I did that. But when there's like an RNG element, like on Dreadflame, I don't feel that he fully understands all the intricacies enough to make some of those calls. So there are some brushes like that, but we get over it, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, this is pretty funny. Sorry, I can't help it. This is it's quite comical to me to
Were you streaming when you did the Firelands? When they heard it or something?
No, I just think it's funny just asking these questions from, you know, a middleman perspective and just hearing answers that are involving me. I don't know, it's pretty funny. This one guy asks here, what do you think of the RNG and fire, and what tips do you have to make it more consistent? Any tricks for a fire mage that most people don't know about?
Well, I mean, to make it more consistent, like to increase your low range and to reduce your high range, you're not really going to do that because it's an RNG stat crit. To make it appear more consistent over time, you can, you know, like from one week to the next, you can get tricks and DI and get better gear. That'll like make it look like you're doing better, but you can still get destroyed from RNG potentially. I think the best overall advice is to just play the right way, and then, hope you get good RNG one time. I mean, you shouldn't be getting punished in your guild or something for doing bad damage unless there's like an actual reason for it, because there's just a chance that it can happen. Like you can be like an Ultraxian. I was like number 1 a few times, and then like number 15 sometimes, because it's just you just don't crit sometimes, and it goes like 15% below your expected value. So I would just say to optimize everything else and just hope for good critting. I mean, it'll be fixed in the patch, so just hold out until then.
Okay. So one guy asked, it would be cool to get an in-depth combustion explanation. I'm not sure, is that something you can explain to him, or I'm not really sure how mages work to the extent to answer that question.
I need to see who asked that. It might just be a troll.
Oh, it's Timmy953.
I guess it could be. I don't know what that is. I can just... I'll talk about it. So it takes your... Okay, so basically it takes your remaining ignite divided by how many ticks are left. So that's a calculation of the DPS of the ignite. And it adds that to 2 other values, which are Living Bomb and Pyro Dot values, but they're not what it actually ticks for. They're like based on your spell power and mastery with some like crazy formula that Blizzard has. So you can't, like, as your gear gets better, the contribution of Living Bomb and Pyro to combust will increase, but it's not going to be like if you trinket the Living Bomb to make it really high ticking, you're not going to see that in your combustion. It's like a normalized value. So it is pretty involved, more than it seems.
Okay. Let's see. So the guy asks, is Arcane good on Ultraxian? What is your opinion on that?
I think out of all the fights, if you want to like make a case for Arcane, that's a very good one. I'm not sure why it does so poorly. I mean, other than being, worse single target baseline, I'm not sure why it did so poorly compared to Fire. I think it has to do with, for Fire, I think it has to do with the travel time. Like if you stood in melee range, I think that's a huge benefit to Fire, like quality of life wise. I think I was Arcane on Ultraxian like once or twice only, so I don't really have that much info about it.
Yeah, cool. And then you got a couple more here. It says, this guy wants to know, do you ignite stack? If so, how often do you do it?
Do you mean just like roll the same one over and over, like, and don't use it until it's high? Like, trying to see what you mean by stacking.
Oh, just so that's Scorch R LOL. If you could just clarify on that, we'll get back to your question. Let's see. Oh, this is actually a pretty good question. It's not really mage related, but it's something that is probably interesting perspective hearing your answer. This guy wants to know what's your favorite achievement.
Favorite achievement? I mean, I thought Insane was, I think it was your favorite too, because it was like kind of out of the box.
Yeah.
Like, WoW is notorious for not doing things out of the box, like everything's documented. And the fact that you could like have this achievement before you knew about it was pretty interesting to me, because it was like only a select group of people that even thought to farm those reps prior to the release of achievements. And those are the people that got it early, and it's like a very small group of us.
So that's you would go with Insane also?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. This guy has a question here. It's a pretty common question that I ask people, just because it basically lets you know about the person's character and, view of life. But he's wanting to know what your favorite starter Pokemon is.
I don't know if I have a favorite, because I only ever picked one. Like, I didn't replay it or anything.
Well, which one? That qualifies. Who did you go with?
Okay. I went with Bulbasaur.
Yeah. All right. It's a good man. Let's see. Let's see, we got...
You can go back to that guy's question now. He said yes. Or he's typing more about it.
Okay, yeah, you can go ahead and
The
answer his.
structural.
I'm just picking out some other ones.
Okay, you're wondering if I hold on to a pyro before combustion. I mean, if you have cooldowns and like pots and execute active, you can be more greedy with it and have a higher threshold of what your ignite's going to be. But if your combustion's been off cooldown for a while, you pretty much want to like think about using it. So I would say it's a tricky question because you're gonna like if you're going for a higher ignite threshold, you're gonna have like a haste effect up or something like that, and you'll naturally get a bigger ignite because of the buffs you have up. But if you're doing like the second or third combust of a fight, it's going to be a weaker one, so you don't want to get like overly greedy because then that's where it comes down to RNG. I hope that answered it. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, if it didn't, just have...
Yeah.
Just throw something else in the stream chat and we'll catch it. I gotta try to keep up with these questions here. This one guy asks if you're okay being forced to use a tier 11 trinket for the entire expansion as arcane.
I don't know. I don't think it was a good design, obviously, because like a lot of mages couldn't even go arcane at a point because they couldn't do Sinestra, and I don't find that fair. I mean, you can be the spec, but it's like miserable. I would rather they have like built that into the talents, or like maybe change the mana values to like a middle ground between shard and no shard. I mean, on my armory right now, I'm still using it for AV, which is why I have that spell pen neck on, by the way. So it was kind of weird on the armory.
Yeah. So I want to know, how are your stat values? Are you taking haste after crit even when soft capped, or doing the haste cap over crit over mastery over haste thing? I'll just copy and paste this for you if you need to see it again.
I'm doing crit over haste regardless, like mastery then crit then haste, because first of all, crit is harder to get high, and second of all, I think like the mana pacing with lower haste is better, and you don't need to like force the issue going from like maybe 1.1 to 1 second casts, because as long as you're spending the mana in a decent time frame for Evo to come back up, then it's not a huge deal. And then if you add into that, there's also Madness, where you don't want haste. And that's pretty much the only fight I'm arcane on that I have to be... and then, I guess, Spine, you want Mastery. So, yeah, the way the two fights are Madness and Spine, so you want to do what I said for those two fights, pretty much. Mastery, then crit, then haste.
Okay, then this guy says here, would it, he wants to know what's the best spec for Madness, Arcane or Fire. I'm guessing that would probably depend on your job, like if you need the 3% aura and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a huge damage requirement, but if you need help on parasites and meteors and things like that, then you might want to have like one arcane, but I don't think you would want more than one. And depending on if you have a red palette, yeah, 3% aura is the most important thing. I don't think one of them is really better than the other that much. It's different.
Someone wants to know, how do you manage combustion? Do you use an add-on or what?
I use my big ignite add-on because I found combustion helper to be too much information and too cluttered. Okay. So I just have like thresholds in that mod, or like mental thresholds that I know like I should probably combust around this threshold.
Okay, Bashino BL wants to know, what's the most asshole thing you have done to get an achievement?
Well, I didn't know I was doing it at the time, Zonker, but I apparently skipped ahead of some BL people on the Crucible in Twilight Highlands to get first 85, like part of the leveling process. So I guess after the fact, that was the most asshole thing. Yeah. But it wasn't intentional. Zonker.
Let's see. This guy's asking why you would want to not focus on haste for madness. I'm guessing because of the
I think
Lord's
as
Army.
fire it would be pretty good, but I was talking about Arcane at that point, and I already like can't use Zerking really until the last platform, like the fourth platform, and Shard is kind of in the same boat, but you can't go below a certain haste anyway because of how the gear is, so it just kind of wastes a little bit. So I guess all things considered, fire is technically better on Madness because you're using the buffs more effectively. But yeah, that's why I don't use haste on that. Or don't want haste on that, rather.
Okay, let's see. This guy says, as an officer, when judging a new recruit's value, how do you honestly think you place? How do you honestly think you place on meter place? I think what he's asking is
Emphasis.
how much emphasis do you put on their place on the DPS meters, possibly, is what he's getting at.
On particular targets and assignments, very high. Overall meters are pretty worthless, though, in this instance at least, because there's a lot of stuff that you can do that's good on meters, which is the opposite of what you want to be doing for the raid. So, like, if we're looking at Meteor on Madness, like, mages should be at a certain level on that. So if it's like a mage app, I'd expect them to be in the same, like, region as the other mages, for example. Like, on a burst target like that. And I guess a fight like Ultraxian, it would take a few weeks, though, to make the meters accurate, especially if they're fire, because they could be anywhere on the meters, pretty much. So, pretty low, I would say.
Okay. While we're catching up on some of those questions here, let's go to, I'm going to go to your Twitter, and it's Ataxus BL, right?
Yeah.
Alright, we're going to check out some and see if any of the mages posted armories on his Twitter. How do I look at what people posted on your wall?
I don't think there is anything, or maybe I'm not doing it right, but I don't really use Twitter until now, so, like, I don't see anything, though.
Okay, well, let's
they can
get
just do it in
the
chat, I guess. I don't know if it's working. I don't know. It's weird.
yeah, push, if you're a mage and you just wanted to go over your armory, just like I said, a quick audit, enchants, gems, spec, glyphs and all that stuff. Just throw some of the, we'll do like the first 3 or something that pop up. The guys, they're saying they posted on your Twitter. I'm not sure how to look at...
I was looking for it, and
should
you
go
just go to your own page, or what?
I don't know, go to sign in your Twitter and hit the @connect up top, and then it should show like all the stuff people post on your wall.
I heard this. Okay.
So
there's like 8.
Okay, yeah, just pick however many of those you want, and then we'll just put them in Skype, that way I can bring them up for the stream.
I want the crappiest ones, 'cause that would be interesting. But I don't know how to tell.
We'll just pick some, and then we'll go with it.
Oh my god. Guess which one someone posted. I don't know if I want to do this one. Wait. I like it.
Just pick any that you're comfortable with.
Tell me if you want me to do that one or not.
Sure. Let's do Sheldon from Blood Legion.
Uh-oh.
So let's just start out with his itemization. What would you go with on that?
Okay, we need some backstory first on this character. So this was originally to be used on Spine 10-man Heroic. So it was groomed as such by the guild. And that's where the orange gems are from, the epic orange gems. So, and then he got that. Can they see all the items and stuff? No. I don't know if they can read it, actually. But he has like the BOE belt. Oh, and then he got the Madness staff. I think I told him it was good or something. I don't remember, but I pretty much just wanted him to buff the raid. So he has the Steps of Time staff, and he like hasn't been able to get a lightning rod since. So I feel kind of bad.
Let's go with gems, like specific. I mean, you gave the insight behind the orange gems. What about those? Should all be what if not orange?
I mean, his stuff isn't that wrong. I think people give him a lot of shit, but he's doing it pretty much right. Like, I would probably have the hit boot enchant technically, but I don't think he goes. Actually, does he go fire? I don't remember what he does. Oh, he's fire right now, so yeah, I would definitely do hit to boots. He has mastery to boots still from like arcane or something. So hit to boots is better for like switching between the specs, and if you can do your reforging to work with both arcane and fire, that's really good to have the hit boot enchant. I actually don't see that many. I looked at it a few weeks ago. There aren't really any problems with his armory, to be honest.
What about professions? Is somebody just mage professions in general? Are some better than others, or what?
Yeah, I mean, he's alchemy inscription, but it's an alt, so I don't really care that much. But you want to be like tailoring, blacksmithing, or engineering. I think those are the big three, and you want to pick two of those. Those are like the try-hard professions. Like, if you're really into the class, you're going to want to be two of those.
What were those again? Engineering?
Maybe leatherwork. Okay, yeah. Engineering, tailoring, leatherworking, and blacksmithing.
Why leatherworking? Just curious.
Just for drums. I don't value it as high as other people, but it's probably because I don't need the drums myself. You can use them for other people, so it's still pretty good. Okay. The other ones, besides those four, are just not. They don't have anything fun to them or extra, really.
Right. Let's go ahead and check his spec out. Anything that you would change really in his spec or glyph choices?
No, I mean, it's pretty standard, except... Wait. He has... I mean, he has the... in the minor glyph, he has armors instead of slowfall, but that's not... doesn't really matter. He probably just copied someone, so... Some people like clear casting in their fire spec, but I mean, it really depends on what you're doing on the character. Like, if it's an alt and you're not really doing heroics, it's not, you know, there's some liberties you can take with your choices. Mm-hmm.
And what did you say about glyphs? Those are all solid as far as fire goes?
Yeah, his fire ones are fine. I'm not really sure why he has Dragon's Breath, but the Blast Wave one doesn't really do anything, technically, in PvE, so it's not really snaring stuff. I guess the Congealing Bloods, but he doesn't do that on Madness. Oh, and he does have an empty minor glyph in Arcane, but that's like kind of a useless one. He has the two like mandatory ones, so it doesn't matter.
Cool. Okay, let's do two more. So yeah, just toss me a link of two more. This guy's asking for you to do Gizzlies, Gizzly. Do you see one of those?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do.
It's a Euro one.
That's fine. Yeah, just link it to me, and then we'll do that one.
Those are the best.
Okay. We are going with this. This is Gizzly from Nosen's Locus. Is a Fire Lord, female troll. So let's start with his
nice
itemization.
Okay. So I assume you're not close to the staff, so you have Lightning Rod, which is the best thing to use. That's good. While you wait. Or maybe you're not waiting. Maybe you're just not getting one. I don't know. Okay, so... Are you, like, primarily arcane on this character? Like, how often do you go fire?
It'll have, like, a
type
10-second delay. Okay, so third phase of the staff, I'm guessing, is what he means. So he's on he's on siphons. Should be pretty soon. What about gemming choices?
Yeah, I was going to talk about that. Like, he's pretty much gemmed for arcane because he has his int mastery gems.
What would you change? Like, what would change if you're... I'm curious about that. Like, if you were a fire mage, how would that change?
Well, the int crit gems are better for both, whereas the mastery ones are, like, specialized for arcane. So, the more common one is the int crit gem. Unless... I mean, there are some mages that never go fire, though. Like, that does exist. It's kind of rare, though. I mean, he doesn't have a shard on right now, so I'm actually not sure. Or maybe that's just, maybe it's his spine setup or something. I'm not sure. Besides that, tailoring enchanting. It's pretty good. I would get something more exotic than enchanting, but it's not like bad to have enchanting by any means.
And what he means by that is just something that offers a little bit more utility, because you'll get the
Yeah.
same stat gain out of another profession, but also gain more from it. Like, say, like engineering. I mean, engineering is kind of a bad example. Say leatherworking, it's more or less the same stat gain, but you also gain drums of speed. Whereas engineering, you get a more like, I mean, you get the int to gloves once a minute, and rocket boots if you ever need them. You know, to do random things like clear dread flame or something like that.
If they want you to be primarily arcane, and I take it you're doing Sinistra, but it's not dropping. But like, if you're missing any lockouts of Sinistra, that's really bad because you pretty much need that. I guess you've survived this long without it, but it's not recommended. Put it that way. Because I don't know if you do. I can look here. If you do 10 or 25. Oh, this doesn't have it. But there are a lot of fights where you definitely need a shard as arcane, or you're just gonna like. It's pretty much not worth. Almost to the point of not worth the 3% damage. It probably is in 10 man and not in 25. Like a 3% aura in 25 is obviously more important. But I would go so far to say as you'd be better off fire in a 10-man environment without a shard. Except for a thing like spine, obviously.
Let's go to his spec. Or did you check out reforging? I see it's a little bit more complex on a mage than say like a tank, where you just kind of want to focus on. You don't have to balance anything. You just max out like, you know, either mastery or avoidance, whichever direction you're trying to go. So. But on a mage, I see he's balancing. It looks like mastery, hit, and crit. Is that something that you would have to put in a sim or something?
Well, that summary thing is a little overly complicated, the way they have it. The red and green boxes.
Yeah.
But if you just look at individual items, he just takes haste to hit first, and then crit to hit, and then he just does that until he doesn't need any more hit, and then he just does haste to mastery. So it looks pretty good for arcane. Yeah, I mean, that's right. Oh, he has Lava Walker to boots, which, I mean, you can argue that both ways, but I would personally not have that. I mean, I guess if you were literally arcane all the time, that's fine. Like, literally all the time. But a lot of your movement is blinking in DS, so it devalues that greatly. I mean, because you're at like 17.18 hit, so there might be a configuration with the hit boot enchant that maybe saves some of those 18 percentage of hit. Maybe gives you some more mastery, something like that. Not a huge deal though. A lot of people still have Lava Walker.
Cool. Let's do his spec and glyphs, and then we've got time for one more of those audits, and then we'll probably just do some closing stuff.
Spec is pretty standard, except it's again arguable, but Nether Vortex instead of Imp Blink. Again, if you're arcane all the time, you probably want Imp Blink. I don't really know exactly what fights he is and isn't arcane for. Nether Vortex has like very, very, very limited use in PvE because it doesn't switch to the target you're currently on. So like the target you hit first with it has to die off before you can put a new slow on the next target. So I think a lot of mages think that's better than it is.
So you're saying the 2 points in Nether Vortex and to improve Blink for the
Yeah,
mobility?
I mean, the only fights you want Nether Vortex are like Suns on Rag, but even then it's like very minor. If you have to choose between the two, Imp Blink is better in that case. And then Spine, maybe a better argument to like break stuns better. Again, I don't really know what raid size and difficulties they're doing.
What about his glyphs. I'm not sure. Is it like cookie cutter arcane glyph choices, or
The
do you have a
prime,
variety?
yeah, the primer cookie cutter. But he has invisibility in major, which is like pretty situational. I would just get blink there. And then in minor, he doesn't have mirror image, which is a DPS increase to have as arcane and fire.
Which one would you replace out of the minor glyphs?
Either armors or slow fall. Probably armors because it's pretty pointless.
Cool.
Like, there's really no reason to have 1 hour armors instead of 30 minutes. Because nothing in the game is more than 30 minutes. So.
Okay. Alright, yeah, just grab one more off your Twitter, and then we'll do that, and then we'll, yeah, do some, like, closing stuff.
He says he enjoys Invis. So, yeah, I mean, you can use Invis to get around, but, I mean, I don't think there's as many cases of that as using Blink to get around, because the longer you're in Invis, the longer you're not doing anything, so it has to be like a phase change or something, or you could just sit in Invis for the run speed. I mean, if you switch back and forth between that, that's fine. This is just kind of a snapshot of your armory, so. Okay, which last one should I pick?
Did anybody leave any juicy comments along with their Twitter submissions, or no?
Some of them are... Should I change glyphs and mastery to gloves? I don't think we've been over that enough. Let's see. This is what I'm using for spine heroic. Okay, let's do this one.
Yeah.
Spine heroic, that's juicy. Rig likes that.
Okay, this is Simo, Dragon Slayer Simo from Locomotion. He actually has 14,440.
Ooh.
That's, yeah.
Exotic.
How many do I have? Has he got more than me? Yeah, he's got more than me. Fuck this
But he's
guy.
undead.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, he wants... I'm using this for spine, except bottle wishes for shard. What tips, advice could you give? Okay, well, the first tip is to race change. Second tip is you don't need Lava Walker for spine because there's no movement. At all. The third tip is get more epic gems if your guild is having trouble with spine, because every little bit helps. You can, if you want to get like super serious, you can drop JC, because it's pretty bad. That's what I did a few weeks ago. You get like 51 int, or 49 more int if you get blacksmithing, for example, from dual crafting. It's pretty big. Is he in the channel?
Yeah, I think he's typing. He's got engineering.
Yeah.
How did engineering? I mean, having shard, I guess on spine.
Well, he's gonna have bottled wishes instead of shard. Engineering is actually not the best for spine, but I don't really think it's worth redoing to something else. It's not like, I guess if you want to, but what happens is you end up, like, after the bottled wishes ends, you can then do your gloves, but then it's like time limited. Like, you're limited on the number of globals you can get in on the tendon. But it does help on the amalgamation damage, so it's not like a complete lost cause. Because you can do like one glove for the amalgamations and the next glove for the tendon type of thing, alternating. Yeah, as they said in chat, you kind of want to get the crafted bracers because they have 2 sockets and this has 0. And these are way worse. The Chrono Boost bracers.
Oh, yes. Oh, those don't even have a socket at all.
Those are poop. Yeah, and I already talked about the epic gems, but like that neck, you can epic gem free of conscience or whatever, because it's the best neck you're gonna get. And then the rings were the other thing I was looking at.
Let's go to Spec. Or, well, Reforging.
You can also get target dummy on his belt, technically, because you don't need rocket boots, unless you want to be like crucial.
And for anybody
There's a
that's
few
not
things we can
familiar,
optimize.
he's mentioning getting Cardboard Assassin on your belt because it will help taunt Bloods at the end of the fight when your tank is kiting, so it's pretty beneficial to have all your engineers with that. What about his reforging, or did you give that a quick once over?
I didn't yet. Let me see. Okay, so yeah, that's right. It's just you get rid of haste first because you're going to end up lusting on one of the tendons, so it becomes wasted. So he's doing that right.
The guy said he's race changing after he finishes his legendary this week.
Oh, that's good. I thought they changed it so it doesn't drop quests anymore, but it's not worth risking. You're right. Just a note. Oh, and you still have your fire orange gems, and you have the int crit orange gems. You can just change those. I don't know how much trouble you guys are having with spine or not, but all these things are just tips to like incrementally increase your damage on the tendons. Like you don't need the crit int gems anymore if you're doing arcane on a hard fight. You can change that just for the fight. Like you don't have to sit with one setup and keep it. So I'm trying to convey. Okay, specs. Yeah, no imp link. That's good for spine because you're not going anywhere. A little fun tip. I don't know where you guys. I don't know which hole you guys sit in for the rolls, but if you're going in like the mid left one, like we do, you don't need Glyph of Blink because it actually puts you like further than you want to be. The extra 5 yards is actually like not as good. Just a little minor tip.
What do you pick up instead?
I guess Mana Shield, depending on how many Bloods are dying.
Depending if Nature's in the raid.
I mean, I don't do that anymore, but these are things to consider, like, progression-wise. And one really bad thing about your glyphs is you don't have Glyph of Conjuring, which is a mandatory arcane glyph that a lot of mages don't have. So if you ever have to remake a gem, it's costing you more than other people for no reason. And you do have to remake a gem on, like, 3 fights in DS, I think. 2 or 3. Spine, Madness, and that might be it. So that's not good, actually.
Okay. And if any of these people have a follow-up question, I mean, you guys have his Twitter now. Make sure to, follow up and post any other questions that you have to his Twitter account, and I'm sure he'll get to him at some point. But that's going to wrap up the Armory audit stuff. We're going to go ahead and I got a couple questions that I wanted to ask near the end of the interview, and then we're going to wrap it up here. Like if you just wanted to give, I don't know, look at it as advice or what, but if you just had to give some sort of insight to any mage that's looking to improve their game or whatnot, you hear a lot of people talk about like, well, mage's face roll, blah, 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 but I mean, I'm sure you share the same opinions I do. I mean, there's a reason that some mages are able to do things that other mages aren't. I mean, like, what would you try and explain to people is what separates, a good mage from a great mage?
I'd say there's 3 major things. One generic, and then one for fire, and one for arcane. I think those 3 things will be the most helpful. So the generic point is you shouldn't pad unless your guild is like going for a parse or something and you're having fun. But like if you're actually trying to kill a boss, make sure you're doing like only the damage that you need to be doing to help kill the boss and nothing else. So sometimes that is AoE, but you have to like not get giddy with excitement because like if there's a Titan Rage on the boss and there's like AoE tied to it, like your Sage, you have to be careful that you're like not losing any single target in order to accomplish the AoE. Because there are a lot of things that you do that reduce single target to enable you to AoE better. So you have to be very careful that you're doing what the raid needs and not what the meters need. So that's a generic point. For Arcane specifically, you need to kind of like plan out like how long the fight's going to be and when your cooldowns are going to be used. It's obviously different with the new 4-piece, but you need to like make logical choices. Like if something's about to come up, you need to tie it in with that cooldown, not just blow a single cooldown, things like that. They're pretty common sense, but I think with the 37-second AP cooldown, people get a little trigger happy sometimes, and they could be doing more than they are with their cooldowns. And then for fire, having a mod that tells you what your ignite size is important. And you need to like make realistic thresholds for what your ignite needs to be taking for before you combust. So the best example of that is Ultraxian. So you're going to do like 3 or 4 combusts on Ultraxian depending on how long your fight is. So obviously your first one is going to be the best if you lost at the beginning like we do. So that one needs to be your most strict threshold. Like you don't really want to settle for a crappy one. And the good thing about how that works is like while you're waiting for a high enough ignite, you can get closer to the 10 stacks of your 2-piece that you're going to ultimately want. So you want to be very selective on that one because you have lust, pot, your procs are coming up, things like that. And then your second one, you're going to want like maybe 5 or 10k lower threshold in your ignite because you don't have those things running. And then for example, your third one will be under 35%. So maybe you want a threshold that's between the 2 you just used. So if you think about it like that, rather than like, I have to combust right away or I'm losing damage, I think you can increase fire damage greatly that way.
Cool. Okay, well, hopefully that either explains some stuff to some people or, got them some info that they didn't already know. But either way, yeah, I try to keep these around about an hour. That's pretty much exactly where we're at. So just from me to you, thanks for, being on here and doing this special interview thing. I know it was just short notice as of last week, but yeah, I appreciate it, and I'm sure the mages and the other people that watched the whole thing did as well. So thanks for coming.
Yeah, and I usually answer whispers and things like that. Like I get a lot of mages asking questions. I usually answer them unless they're annoying. So feel free to contact me in some way. And I can look at armories separately. We don't really have much time on this format, but
yeah, best way to do that is just Twitter. Just tell them to put it on your Twitter. It's easier to keep track of that way. So
sinner. If I had to explain Ignite, it would take the whole hour.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, thanks again, and yeah, I'll just talk to you in a bit when we're rating.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Later. Okay, so that is the interview with Ataxus, and went pretty well. Had a pretty decent amount of people, anywhere between, I don't know, it was about like 320 to 400 on average throughout that whole thing, so that's always a plus. He seemed to be getting increasingly popular. Couple things though. Hopefully you guys are able to learn some stuff, see where those are going. I've got a lot of different requests from a lot of different people. Some people are asking to have another Warlock on here. I don't know, there always seems to be a lot of Warlock questions. There's some people that also, actually today, I mean, you saw a lot of warrior requests. So, I mean, if you guys want to have a warrior, I mean, we did Shinafei the other week. I'm not opposed to bringing her back on here. I'm not really opposed to bringing anyone on here. So, and we have other mages as well. We've got Zonker, Logos, and warriors. We've got several. So, I mean, if you guys want to request someone in specific, if there's enough demand for that person, we will do, I'll do what I can to get them on here. If you guys had to pick between I'm not doing an interview with Dexter, that's the one exception. But outside of that, if you guys have a request for a specific warrior, go ahead and, if you guys had to pick between Juvie, Sinner, Troy, between those, let me know. And, I know we may get a warrior on here next week. Maybe a shadow priest. A lot of people are asking about that. Some druids. So I don't know. We've got a ton of different people in BL. A lot of different personalities and things like that. If enough people wanted to see Dexter, I'm pretty sure we can make it work. I just not sure how much I would actually enjoy that myself. But tell you what, I'll probably make a poll, and I'll get a poll up on our public forums, and I'll let you guys all come and vote. And we'll take the person with the highest votes each and every week. So either way it goes, I appreciate everybody sticking out for the show. This is about, right around an hour, so that's good. As soon as Twitch allows me, I will have the video highlighted and put up on YouTube. Like I said, I wasn't able to get Pikachu's up last night because I couldn't highlight it for some reason. The option's just not there. So hopefully that gets fixed, and then I get these fixed and ready to go. With that said, don't go anywhere tonight. We will be doing several sales runs, heroic content, and then after that, depending on the time that we're done, we're going to have some League of Legends action within the guild, and we're pretty bad at that. So if you guys just want to see a bunch of people basically running into a wall, licking the window on the short bus, it'll be good fun. So all in all, I appreciate you guys showing up. If you haven't followed the channel, hit the follow button on the top left. And make sure to subscribe to me on YouTube, add me on Facebook, and follow me on Twitter as well. So thanks again. I'm just going to chill a little bit before the raid starts, and you guys can just hang out, and then the raids will be starting in less than an hour. All right. So thanks again. I'm going to run a couple commercials. You guys are awesome.